2003, UCLA, a windowless room, a brain scanner humming at the center, 46 volunteers, one at a time, placed inside the machine, told they'd be playing a game, tossing a ball back and forth with two other players, virtually on a screen. Then, without warning, the other two stopped throwing to them. No reason given, just silence, and a ball that never came back. The scanner was still running, and the region of the brain that lit up wasn't disappointment, wasn't annoyance. It was the same region that activates during physical pain. But here's the thing, for 99.9% of human history there was no screen, no game, no simulation. If your group stopped including you, that wasn't a bad feeling, it was a death sentence. Alone in the wild, a human didn't last long, no protection, no food sharing, no one to warn you, so somewhere deep in the wiring your brain learned something. Exclusion equals danger, and danger gets coded as pain. So here's the question. If that wiring is still in there, what does it mean for you? For the moment a text goes unanswered, for the silence after you speak up in a meeting, and no one responds, for getting left out of a plan you weren't even sure you wanted. In this video, 3 things: the actual brain scans from that study, a follow-up experiment using a painkiller. Yes, an actual painkiller to treat rejection. And what it means if you've spent years feeling too sensitive about things that shouldn't hurt this much. The study was led by a researcher named Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA, published in the journal Science in 2003. The game was called Cyberball. Simple, almost stupidly simple. 3 players, 1 ball, pass it around. Each participant believed the other 2 were real people playing along somewhere else. They weren't. The other 2 players were programmed, controlled by the researchers. For the first few rounds, everyone played normally, ball going back and forth, back and forth. Then the exclusion began. The ball stopped coming to the volunteer, round after round, just passed between the other 2, like the volunteer wasn't there. And the entire time, the scanner was recording. Every shift in blood flow, every flicker of activity. Here's what the scans showed. During exclusion, activity spiked in one specific region, a region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the DACC for short, along with a region called the anterior insula. Now here's why that matters. Those 2 regions are the regions that activate during physical pain. Not similar to, reminiscent of, the same. The exact circuitry that lights up when you burn your hand or stub your toe lit up in volunteers who were just ignored, in a video game, with strangers they'd never meet. And here's the part that made researchers sit up. The more distress a person reported feeling, the stronger the activity in that region. It wasn't random. It tracked, almost like a dial. Turn up the exclusion, turn up the pain signal. Some volunteers had also filled out a questionnaire before the game even started. It measured something called rejection sensitivity, how strongly someone expects to be excluded, how much it tends to wreck their day when it happens. The people who scored higher on that showed even stronger DACC activity during the exclusion rounds. Meaning, if you've always been the person who replays a weird silence for hours, there's a reason. It's not in your head. Well, it is in your head, just not the way you've been told. So here's the next question. If rejection activates the same circuitry as physical pain, can you treat it the same way with something for physical pain? In 2010, a researcher named C. Nathan DeWall at the University of Kentucky decided to find out. The setup was almost absurdly direct. Take a common over-the-counter painkiller, acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol. Give it to one group of participants every day for 3 weeks. Give the other group a placebo. Neither group knew which they were taking. Then track their daily emotional experiences, specifically feelings of social pain, being snubbed, left out, hurt by someone's words. Here's what they found. The group taking the painkiller reported less social pain day after day compared to the placebo group. The effect built over time. Less hurt from being ignored, less sting from a cold reply, less of that low, dragging feeling after a small social cut. And then came the second part of the study. A separate group of participants took the same painkiller or a placebo and then played Cyberball, the same exclusion game from the UCLA study, inside a brain scanner. The result: the participants who'd taken the painkiller showed reduced activity in the DACC and the anterior insula, the exact regions from before. A pill marketed for headaches and sore muscles measurably dulled the brain's response to being excluded by strangers in a video game. Sit with that for a second. Not help them feel better about it, dulled the actual neural signal. The same signal that fires when tissue is damaged, when something is, by every definition, hurt. Now, to be clear, this isn't a video telling you to take Tylenol when you're upset. That's not the point. The point is what the study reveals. If a painkiller can turn the volume down on the brain's response to rejection, then the brain was never treating rejection as just a feeling. It was treating it as an injury, the kind you'd reach for medicine for, without ever consciously deciding that's what you were doing. So here's the bigger question. Why would a brain evolve this way at all? Why would something as abstract as being ignored get wired into the same system as physical injury? To answer that, you have to go back, way back, before cities, before agriculture, before most of what we'd call civilization. For early humans, survival wasn't an individual project, it was a group project. A person alone couldn't watch for predators while sleeping, couldn't gather enough food on their own, couldn't fend off threats without help. The group was the thing keeping you alive, not metaphorically, literally. So evolution needed a way to make group belonging feel urgent, non-negotiable, something you couldn't just shrug off. And the system it borrowed already existed, the pain system. The same alarm that says this is damaging your body, fix it now, got repurposed to also say this is damaging your bonds, fix it now, same alarm, different trigger. Here's a small detail that shows how old this idea is. The word ostracism comes from ancient Greece, from the word ostrakon, a piece of broken pottery. In Athens, citizens would write a name on a shard of pottery to vote someone out of the city. Permanently, exile, no trial, no crime required, just enough names on enough broken pottery, and you were gone. Being cut off from the group was so severe a punishment, it didn't need a court. It needed pottery and a vote. That's how seriously exclusion was treated. Thousands of years before brain scanners existed, long before anyone could measure a DACC, humans already knew being cast out was close to a death sentence. The body just never got the memo that the stakes have changed. In 2015, a researcher named Julian Holt-Lunstad ran a large analysis combining data from over 300,000 people, looking at loneliness and isolation and mortality risk. The finding chronic loneliness was linked to a higher risk of death, comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, not a feeling. A measurable risk to the body. So the alarm isn't broken, it's ancient. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. The only thing that's changed is what sets it off. So here's a different way to look at this. What if it's not that you're too sensitive? What if it's not that you overreact? What if your nervous system is just running very old software on very new hardware? A left-on read message isn't a survival threat, but the part of your brain reading it doesn't fully know that. It evolved in small groups where every relationship was load-bearing, where being quietly excluded could be the first sign that something much worse was coming. So it learned to react fast, to react hard, to treat the silence as data, important data, the kind worth running on a loop just in case. If you've ever felt numb after too many of these moments, that's not weakness either. That's a system that's been on alert for so long it started conserving energy, dialing itself down, going quiet the way a smoke alarm goes quiet after its battery finally dies. Not because the danger is gone, because the system ran out of charge. None of this was a character flaw. It was never a character flaw. It was a brain doing the job it was built for in a world that no longer matches the blueprint. The overthinking, the replaying of conversations at 2 a.m., the bracing before you open a message. None of it means something is wrong with you. It means something very old is still switched on. Back in that scanner in 2003, the volunteers couldn't see the other players, couldn't hear them, couldn't even be sure they were real. And still, the ball not coming back registered in the body as something close to pain. Maybe that's worth remembering. The next time something small leaves a mark that doesn't feel small at all, the ball doesn't have to come back. For the moment it didn't to be real.